Missouri, trying to make a name. We pulled into that filling station, we knew things weren't the same. We rolled into town that day in a Chevy Astro van. When we tried to fuel it up, we were beaten down by the man. Well, we knew we weren't in Kansas when we tried to fill it up. Then what sounded like the voice of God saying, pay before you pump. Got to pay before you pump it. And I know this might seem strange, but this ain't home sweet home on the range. Two honkies in the hood now, and they know they don't belong. All they know they took a turn, turned out that turn was wrong. Whitey's in the ghetto and he's looking like a chump, thanks to a little policy called pay before you pump. All I wanted was a burrito and a tall cold glass of Coke, a place to rest my weary head. I ain't lying, this ain't no joke. We came into town beat down and the band was in a slump. The last thing that we needed to hear was pay before you pump. Got to pay before you pump it. And I know this might seem strange, but this ain't home sweet home on the range. Two honkies in the hood now, and they know they don't belong. All they know they took a turn, turned out that turn was wrong. Whitey's in the ghetto and he's looking like a chump, thanks to a little policy called pay before you pump. We left town that dreary day with education on our minds. We might be a lot of things, not the sophisticated kind. We still like our hunting free, and I'd like to take a dump on that stupid little policy called pay before you pump. Got to pay before you pump it. And I know this might seem strange, but this ain't home sweet home on the range. Two honkies in the hood now, and they know they don't belong. All they know they took a turn, turned out that turn was wrong. Whitey's in the ghetto and he's looking like a chump, thanks to a little policy called pay before you pump. Got to pay before you pump it. And I know this might seem strange, but this ain't home sweet home on the range. Two honkies in the hood now, and they know they don't belong. All they know they took a turn, turned out that turn was wrong. Whitey's in the ghetto and he's looking like a chump, thanks to a little policy called pay before you pump. Got to pay before you pump it. And I know this might seem strange, but this ain't home sweet home on the range. This ain't home sweet home on the range. That was kick-ass. Biff Bobcat Rogers, last verse. We left town that dreary day with education on our minds. We might be a lot of things, not the sophisticated kind. We still like our hunting free, and I'd like to take a dump, just not on a cactus, on that stupid little policy called pay before you pump. You got to pay before you pump it. There you go, bring it home.
And I know this might seem strange, but this ain't home sweet home on the range. Two honkies in the hood now, and they know they don't belong. All they knows they took a turn, turned out this turn was wrong. Whitey's in the ghetto, and he's looking like a chump. Thanks to a little policy called pay before you pump.
Classic.
Yeah.
Shoulder shimmy there.
Hey.
Yeah,
we're back, guys.
We're back. Yeah, that's called Honkies in the Hood. I think that was our first official song that we wrote that was original tune, original words.
We were talking about this just yesterday. I think you're right. Because a lot of songs on that first album were birthday songs, and I think we've told listeners, but I'll just recap real short. Some of the first songs that the Hillbilly Junction Boys did were birthday songs to embarrass teenage girls that their families had asked us to embarrass. We'd take a popular tune, write an embarrassing song, and show up live at Village Inn and embarrass them. So
not just teenagers. I mean, we did 21-year-olds, like college kids.
Yeah.
I mean,
true.
You put us out there saying we sang to teenage girls. When we started in college, that makes us seem kind of weird.
At the behest of their families.
Yeah, we sang to college kids. We sang to grown adults. I remember we serenaded one guy at a bowling alley who was clearly impressed. His girlfriend hired us, and he was He was 40, I think.
Yeah, because it was for a big deal.
Yeah, and I mean,
he wasn't happy with us.
He didn't seem to really feel the vibe, but he's a Vikings fan. So right. that might have explained a lot.
That's right. Cruising in a Thunderbird.
That's right. It was probably really a cougar.
Yeah.
He was just envious of what we had, maybe. But yeah, that Two Honkies in the Hood. I mean, the one thing there again, true story. What do brothers do in their summertime together? But you road trip. We road trip to Branson. Woo!
The coolest place in the country.
Go Dollywood. I don't know if that's in Branson, but we think so.
It was close enough that we at least posed by the sign.
We did, yeah. So we road tripped to Branson, and we took our gear. We stopped at every state sign, and we would get out on the interstate and change into our gear. And, like Hillbilly Junction Boys said, welcome to Missouri. Hillbilly Junction Boys, welcome to Nebraska. Hillbilly Junction Boys, welcome to Iowa. I think those are the only states we crossed through on our way to Missouri.
Yeah,
Nebraska,
but still.
Iowa, and Missouri. That seems to be...
It was a tri-state tour.
Well, yeah. And I mean, so we get to Branson and we wear our gear and walk around, and, you're in Branson, so people come up and ask you, they're like, hey, are you guys famous? We're like, yeah. They didn't know.
Yeah, you don't feel out of place in Branson dressed like we do as the Hillbilly Junction Boys. We just go into the convenience store and get a candy bar, microwave a burrito,
Yep.
Whatever.
Sit down in our shiny purple and red shirts and corduroy cowboy hats and white patent leather shoes. But where we got the start of that song or the theme, this was probably 24 years ago.
Well, it was right.
Not more than that.
Summer before Cody and I got married, so we've been married 22 years. So 21 or 22 years ago.
Yeah. So I mean, we road tripped and we pulled into Kansas City, and I mean, this is coming from two bumpkins that really hadn't been too far away at that point. We pull into Kansas City, and Jason's there trying to fill up at the pump.
No, you were trying to fill up at the pump.
Yeah, I was trying to fill up at the pump, and it wouldn't do anything. I mean, like, we're used to the ones where you just pull in, flip the handle, pump your gas, and then you go and pay. And as the song said, then what sounded like the voice of God saying, pay before you pump. So, trying to pump, and I'm getting frustrated with it, and clearly they have cameras, but
I'm going to pause you right there because you're out there doing that, and I'm inside, like maybe getting a candy bar or something, or a burrito.
A burrito and a tall, cold glass of Coke.
I was trying to get a burrito and a tall, cold glass of Coke, and the checker, the cashier, was asking me, what the heck's he doing out there? Like, she was watching you the whole time. And she's like, what's he doing out there?
See, this is stuff that I wasn't aware of. Like, this is new information to me, listeners. This is the first time I'm hearing this.
And I mean, so I didn't know what heck she was even talking about, because I thought he was out there supposed to be pumping gas, and I was like, well, what would he be doing? He's trying to get gas, right?
That's what I was trying to do.
Now continue. I just thought I guess you maybe didn't know that. So now you kind of know a little context too.
No, that's important, you know. So yeah, I'm there, and apparently just comic relief for the attendant and my brother, you know. They're again really looking out for me and my well-being, laughing at my expense. So anyhow, like, there's a speaker somewhere, and this voice comes on, and you know, this woman's like, she's like, you got to pay before you pump, sir. You got to pay before you pump. And I have no clue what that means.
He's looking around.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah. Then what sounded like the voice of God, and apparently that's what That's what God sounds like. You know, God works in mysterious ways. But you know, to me, it was like probably a 50-year-old woman, you know, from Kansas City, Missouri. You got to pay before you pump. Pay before you pump.
We still didn't freaking know what that even meant. That was the first time we'd ever experienced that, because just like Russell said, you know, growing up, you know, where we did, I mean,
like pay what? Pay who? Pay where?
Right. What am I paying with? Goods and services? So, what's going on?
Yeah. I don't have any gold bullion. So apparently, yeah, that was the first time we'd ever experienced that. Had to go up to the booth, and, you know, we didn't have credit cards. Had cash, and just like, here's $40. And, you know, then went back and apparently only got $40 worth of gas or whatever it was.
Well, and we were very out of our element there, because like Russell said, I mean, and you all know by now, if you've listened to this podcast at all, we grew up in the country. Cheyenne, Wyoming was 70 miles from us. And when you got on the interstate at Pine Bluffs, Wyoming, and you went to Cheyenne, at that time, you might meet one or two cars. So our idea of driving in a city of any size, just off the map. And so we get to Kansas City, we get off the interstate, and this was back before GPS. We had maps, but I mean, who's reading a map anyways? You know,
no one.
We just knew Kansas City, and then we get there, and we're like, we look down and we say we need gas, so we get off the interstate, and there's not a gas station immediately off the interstate, so we drive around. I think we crossed the river at one point, or we came down next to the river. We're kind of like on a dock area.
We dabbled into Kansas as well as Missouri. So yeah, it was a quad state too. Quad yeah, we forgot our brief stint in Kansas.
Yeah.
But yeah, we had no clue, and I think that was back when. Didn't we have like the old school Garmin?
We might have had a Garmin, but I don't think so.
Like we just were interstating it, and we were way off the interstate. And as the song goes, I mean, we were two honkies in the hood. We were definitely out of place. And
and the reason that we use the word hood, because I mean, I know, like, you know, that's not something you say anymore or whatever, but the reason for that is that the voice, the woman who told you that, she said specifically, she's like, this is the hood, son. You got to pay before you pump. So that's where we got that. So when that voice came over the speaker finally at the end, she's like, this is the hood, son. You got to pay before you pump. So
we didn't key that. Yeah, we're not prejudiced or racist by any means, but yeah, that was what we were told. I was told I was in the hood, and, you know, the ghetto. So,
well, and I remember, you know, feeling very out of place, because when me and the attendant were watching you out there, you had on like it was like cargo shorts or something, but Like, I mean, we are pale gentlemen. Now, Russell, he gets a little more sun now during the summers. He wears shorts all the time now. But at the time, we mostly wore jeans all the time. You don't wear shorts when you're out hauling hay or, mending fence.
If I learned anything, that's what Dad told me. I want to caveat off of that, and then you can come back to your story.
Sure.
So it was like the first summer coming home after college, came back to the ranch, and, we get home, and I was wearing my cargo shorts. And, what did Dad say? He made some comment about how I'd become big city in college, and he's like, you can't haul hay in shorts.
He's right.
That was it. Yeah, that was it.
Well, and so, I mean, I didn't have a whole lot else to say other than, I look out there, and I mean, it is the palest guy struggling in the hood, trying to just pump gas, and it kind of reminds me of Tommy Boy, where he's trying to get the nozzle into the thing and everything. It just wasn't working for you, and it was funny to watch.
I'm not a tiny gentleman, so right. I'm like this big pasty white guy,
like a polar bear.
Yeah, I mean that was clearly not local. It didn't take a rocket surgeon to figure out that
that's the best way to put it. Yeah,
that I was not from around there.
Yeah. So then, we finally get the gas paid for, and we go to leave, and like we said, I mean, we didn't really pay attention to how we got off the interstate, where we were, and so we eventually, the one thing we knew is, here's the interstate. We cross the interstate. We head back. Eventually, we'll hit the interstate, and we did that, and we headed on our merry way. And then we got to, we ended up, it was Clinton, Missouri, is where we stopped. That was our stopping point for the night. And I remember there, again, so many differences, and this doesn't even have anything to do with the hood. This just has to do with east and west and where we came from and where Clinton, Missouri is. Where we come from, there's hardly any trees. I mean, the only trees we had were at our house that were planted by our grandpa. So, I mean, you can look out for miles and see the horizon. And so we drive into Clinton, Missouri, and we wrote another song that has a little bit to do with this.
Oh,
but,
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was another one. Here we are in Clinton, looking for a tasty
meal. Yep.
All that we got on us is a $20 bill. It's the Colonel's or the highway. We've got chances to take. There's a Smoky on our 6, and now it's make or break.
We so many of our songs talk about our challenges with the law that didn't exist. We paint ourselves out to be real bad boys, but we were looking for some place to eat. Kentucky Fried Chicken. I know. Yeah, we saw the Colonel's bucket like floating, like really like heavenly, just kind of floating above the trees. And
couldn't see anything else.
No, only trees. And so for us, or from the West, who are able to look out and see and go, we look and see the bucket, and it must have taken us 20 or 30 minutes just to get to this stupid KFC restaurant because we didn't have any landmarks. It was trees.
That was a whole experience too. And, we get to Branson and walk around and, we're life on the road. So, I mean, we're staying in hotel rooms and all of that. And, everywhere we go, we make sure we wear our gear, and Jason's carrying his guitar. So it looks like we're a band out on tour. It says we traveled in a Chevy Astro van. That wasn't factual. No. It was a Chrysler, LeBaron?
LeBaron? Ooh, LeBaron. Yeah, I think it was. No, it wasn't. It was a dark green one.
Yeah, it was that car of Mom's. It was a Chrysler what? What was that one?
She had a LeBaron, but this one wasn't a LeBaron. It was, I don't know.
It might have been a LeBaron. We'll call it a LeBaron.
LeBaron sounds fancy.
It was a decent car. So yeah, but we sing about the Chevy Astro van, and there actually was a Chevy Astro van in our history. Our friend, we've spoken about him before, Eric Davis Grimm, kind of went through vehicles, much like our other friend, Travis Andrew Humble. Shout out to the bigs there. But I know in our time in college, what did Eric have? 8 or 9 different vehicles. Same like with Travis. They're always trying to get, is creative as they could with their vehicle choices, but he got his mom's, it was a Chevy Astro van, and he took out like the back seat was like captain's chairs, and it was like almost like a conversion van that he drove around in college for a little bit. I'm not sure how he acquired it, and he didn't drive it long, but that was when Travis sold the Cougar and bought that dumpy Datsun, and he tore out the seats and put the captain's chairs in there because, what goes well in a Datsun cab, captain's seats from the rear of a conversion Chevy Astro van.
I love college, though, because you can do all kinds of dumbass stuff like that. You can pick up a couch.
I think he only had like one or two bolts holding each seat down. Right. I mean, how he got in there, I don't know.
And not street legal at that point. I mean, you might have been buckled in, but the seat was coming out with you.
Yeah, it was like an ejection seat, whether you wanted it to be or not.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, drilling some extra speed holes because see, Eric had the Astro van, then he had that little black car that we took for a road trip, and there were some shenanigans there that involved feces.
And also my first time chewing. Remember that?
Yeah.
Was that your first time chewing as well?
Probably. I remember you're like, I'm dizzy.
Yeah. So we talked in the last episode about how our dad chewed for like 40 years, chewed skull. Well, we were getting ready to help Travis move some stuff back down or pick some stuff up from Denver. So
load the moving truck. His dad was moving out of that big, like, upscale apartment that was like 50 stories up in that building. But remember that? Because we had to haul everything by elevator.
Yeah. But we started out in our living room in Shadron, and Eric and Travis chewed, and they're like, "You want some chew?" And I was like, "Why not? This is college. Let's do it."
But their stuff was like that came in the little pouches.
No, it was beech nut right out of the
that's
gold
right.
pack with the leaves and stuff. And so I took a big old pinch, like Big League Chew, and I put it in. And like 15 or 20 minutes later, like I'm feeling dizzy and I'm not feeling well at all. And I was like, this is crazy. Why does anybody do this? Well, then I took another dip on our way down.
Because he got hooked.
Yeah, I was already hooked. And I took a big dip, and I'm sitting in the car just the whole time. Just I'm dizzy and just I felt horrible. So that's a lesson for anybody who wants to chew beech nut. Don't. Skull's much more mild and pleasing to the senses.
Yeah. So that was a crazy adventure. And then there were multiple vehicles along the way.
Yeah. Well, and you talk about the van. I think maybe we could talk, even though we're always off topic. We're here and there talking about the van that we had growing up and Dad's process for negotiating for this van. So there's a dealer in Cheyenne, Wyoming called Cowboy Dodge, and we were looking for a new vehicle. And we went
Up to that point, we had a international Scout that was given to us by our grandparents.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so we're looking for something different. And Dad's got his eye on this big Dodge van, just a blue Dodge van.
On the showroom floor.
That's right.
Yeah. It was billed as brand new.
Which it wasn't after the time he was done negotiating, because
that'll come full circle through the story.
Dad was negotiating, and he is hardcore. Like, he will
We arrived at Cowboy Dodge at 8 a.m?
Yes, and we went off site with Mom. Like the someone from there took us to the mall. We went and saw a movie, I think. I remember.
Yeah, we didn't end up leaving until well into the evening.
Yeah, we get back to Cowboy Dodge. It's dark. Dad's still negotiating about undercoating or something. Who knows? He likes
to wear them down.
Yeah. Well, and that's just it. So finally gets the van. We had it for years. It was a great vehicle. But
it was 1986.
Reagan was president. Times were good. But ever since then, nobody would do business with Dad at Cowboy Dodge. And Mom had
the name resonated with them.
Right. Because Mom sold...
It comes full circle because this is where she got the car, right? Or mom bought more vans through Cowboy Dodge.
Yeah, she was there to. I think she also did some business there with insurance or something too. She had a couple clients that worked there, and they all knew who Dad was, and he didn't leave the best impression in their circles. But yeah, she ended up going back and buying another vehicle there years later. But Dad
may
wasn't
be a
there.
few establishments that Dad has not been allowed to re-enter.
So, I just thought that was an appropriate place to tell a van story.
Absolutely. I love that van. It had big captain's chairs.
Yeah.
And we each had our own, full-size seat. That was awesome.
Well, yeah, because in a bench seat, too. So, like, coming back from basketball games and stuff, you were tired, you could just lay down on the bench seat and sleep on the way home. Yeah, that was a good van. But I was going to talk a little bit, because we talk about honkies in the hood and kind of feeling out of place in Branson, and I was going to share a story. I don't think we've shared it on this podcast yet about going to a Rockies game one time. I had a Thunderbird with T-tops, and it was myself and my wife now and my girlfriend at the time, and then Russell and a lady friend of his. And we went to the Rockies game downtown Denver, and this was... Let's see.
We just went to the Rockies game this past Tuesday, and we're talking about this story.
Yeah. So, there again, picture this. The only time I'd ever driven in Denver before this was when I was a sophomore in college, and I had a couple friends who we went down to Denver and hung out a little bit, but one of them rode with me on the way down, and she was from Denver, so she could tell me where to go. And we were also following one of our other friends, and she was a pizza delivery person in Denver. So they knew exactly where they were going. They told me how to get there. And then they sent me home with nobody but myself. And I had quite the time trying to get out of Denver and what people used to call the mousetrap, and it wasn't fun. So keeping that in mind, so now... Fast forward a few years later, we're in Denver. It's nighttime after a Rockies game, and Denver,
he's trying to impress his now wife. At that point,
with my navigational skills, because that is what the ladies love: navigational skills.
In his hot rod car.
Yeah, that and a sense of humor. So we're leaving the game. Like Russell said. I'm driving, trying to impress with my skills and my sweet car. And Denver has a lot of one-way streets. And I didn't realize that this was a one-way street, and I got on it, and I realized when I saw
he wasn't on the street.
I wasn't on the street, and I had to pull off onto the sidewalk, and I'm not, luckily the sidewalks, Denver, I'll give you this, your sidewalks are nice and wide enough for a Thunderbird and a group of ruffians from the city,
or at least 20th Street, right outside the stadium.
Yeah,
not the hood. In Jason's defense, the sidewalk was extremely wide. Like he was driving on the sidewalk. But that's not where the story ends, my friends.
No, because...
It gets even better. It gets even better.
Because there's a group of people walking up in front of us, and I guess I'm thinking, why are they walking down the middle of the street? And so
what kind of jerk-offs walk down the middle of the street?
Right. and so I start honking the car at...
honking the car, revving up the engine, getting right behind them.
And they're just kind of like looking back at me like, what is this nut doing? Get out of
the street. Get out of the street.
They're like, is he drunk? And I didn't even realize it until finally Cody, my wife now, said, you are on the sidewalk. And to this day, I don't know how I got out of it. I think I just blacked out, and somebody told me what to do, and I got back, and because not only was I going against the tide of traffic, I was driving on the sidewalk. So somehow I had to get back into traffic, going the correct way. Got home.
We just made it to the end of the block and flipped it around. Once you've made it that far, you just keep going.
You're all in. Yep.
There's no turning around. But that was a funny story, and I'll caveat off of that because I think I told you when and I am not married. I am happily divorced now, but on the honeymoon, we landed into Boston. Did I tell you that one?
No.
Where I ended up on the pier. So,
the pier?
Yeah, the pier in Boston.
Near to
so
the harbor?
Anyhow, yeah, I didn't go in the harbor, but I was right outside. So anyhow, we wanted, you're in Boston, first night of not the first night of the honeymoon, but yeah, first night where we flew out of Denver to Boston, and found this seafood restaurant and driving by it. And, it's like you drive by it and it's like valet parking, $25. There again, honky in the hood now and extremely frugal. It's like, I'm not paying $25 for someone to valet park. I'm just going to continue up this street and, find someone there. Well, the street quickly ended and there were these big metal pillars that should have been my signal to stop. But they are wide enough that it allowed the rental car to pass through it. And all of a sudden, what had been, like asphalt and street became wood and pier. And I was onto the pier, out into the harbor. Well, and so at the end of the harbor, or at the end of the pier, was a cop. And turns on his lights and starts driving towards me. So, at this point I realize that I'm not where I need to be. And so I look at the cop who's yelling at me and, pointing at me like this with his lights on, like, go back. So I figure that, he and I have established this hand signal communication as he's doing one of these. So I give him some hand signals too. And I know what you're thinking, listeners. I did not give him the number one, but I looked at him and I pointed like this, like I'm going to go forward and I'm going to turn around. So I'm looking at him like that. I'm like forward and I'm going to turn around because I knew that I needed to turn around. But he had made it then very clear with the glare that he shot back at me as he starts honking and like pulling even closer towards me, glaring at me saying, no, you back your ass up. So I had to go in reverse. And by this point, I mean, people are walking on the pier and I'm trying to look behind me and not run off the pier. And I'm backing up and so maybe that should have been my first sign that, marriage might not have been the way to go. Long story short, don't drive on a pier in Boston.
Well, it really is so different when you come to a place that you aren't familiar with.
Honkies in the hood, honkies in the hood experiences, all there.
Yep.
And you just try to do what growing up where you did. It's like if you went down the wrong way, you would hit the ditch and turn around.
Right.
I thought I was very clear in communicating to the officer that I want to go up and turn around. It's like, I know I'm in the wrong spot, but I want to go up and turn around.
Yeah.
So, probably pretty close to getting arrested in Boston. That would have made for another run-in with the cops. But like you talk about how we talk like we're bad boys and have all these run-ins with the police. And, you reflect back on some things. And yes, neither one of us have ever been arrested and or spent time in jail. But, we have had some encounters with the 5-0 from time to time.
Yeah. I remember one time I was driving same Thunderbird to Rapid City, and I was with I think we were married at the time. I was with Cody and got pulled over by a cop. And, I was like, well, what's going on? And, he made me show my license and registration. And he made me go back to his car and sit with him in the car. I had to go sit with him in the car.
And it was a K9 unit, right?
Yeah, it was a K9 unit. And right behind me, like 2 inches from my ear, I have this German... K9? Yes, this German Shepherd barking in my ear the whole time. And...
Because he could smell the hashish on you.
Right? He could sense my fear, probably. But the cop was like, he said, did you know why I stopped you. I said, I don't think so. I said, I don't know why. Why? And he kind of got mad at that I didn't know why. But he said, here's the reason. He said, your window tinting is almost too dark. And almost. And so I kind of got irritated at that, and I kind of, I said I didn't do a whole lot, but I was kind of like, come on, you stopped me for being almost too dark. I kind of gave him a little bit of attitude, and then I was quickly reminded that I had the dog right back here, and I kind of just shut up and let the conversation finish and went on my merry way. But that was pretty intense, sitting right next to.
Didn't he ask if you had guns in there?
No,
because
I don't think so.
I was in the back seat.
Oh, that's right, you were.
I thought he asked about guns or something, didn't he? Or was that another time you got stopped?
Maybe it was that time. Because the
you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, I do. The hatchback.
Like when you got pulled over one time and the police asked you if you had the officer asked if you had guns.
Mm-hmm. And I think that was that time because the hatchback was real low, and then there was like a little pull-out thing, like almost like a movie theater screen pull that you could.
Yeah, where you see on the movies where they hide their guns.
Yeah, right.
You're in a Smokey and the Bandit car.
Yeah, true.
Running with your tinted windows.
Yep.
Running guns across the border from Nebraska to South Dakota.
Right. Well, yeah, and
that's big business. Big business.
They probably heard about these two honkies in the hood from the Kansas City police. They're like, they're coming your way. We've got a couple bozos and a Thunderbird. Just see if you can panic into getting them to admit that they have guns in their car.
Yeah, see if you can scare them into confessing something that they didn't actually do.
Yeah.
There you go. That's what you should have told him. Well, I have this one and I have this one.
I have thunder and lightning. Which one do you want? That's a good way to end up in the back with the canine.
Yeah, you can say, is this tinting almost too dark? Yeah.
Yeah.
You can talk about when we went gambling for the first time in Vegas and we got yelled at for touching the money.
True. All right. Well, yeah, let's do that.
Yeah. Okay. Tell about that. Another Honky in the Hood episode. Okay. When I turned 21, so it was over Christmas vacation. So can I
just say for a second right now, you look like a head coach of a junior college football team right now. You have your headset on, you have your nice official sweatshirt and your ball cap. I like it. It's a good look for you.
That's right.
And
that's right. I'm auditioning for the big leagues.
You have the wisdom of a Division I college coach who's just happened his first job. I know you're freezing right now. Am I frozen still?
Not now. That's why I unfroze.
All right.
Maybe like a Division 12 head coach. So, like growing up, we didn't really do family vacations. I can count on like two fingers the family vacations we actually took. Mm-hmm. One of those being to Steamboat and one of those being to the Royal Gorge. All of which could make their own individual episodes with the shenanigans that traveling with our father. That's a whole book in itself, but we're not going to go down that rabbit hole, at least on this podcast. So anyhow, I just turned 21 and it was Christmas vacation from college. So, Bud was 23 and we'd actually planned a family vacation to where else? Where do you go on Christmas vacation? Las Vegas, because we're all old enough to gamble at that point. So we go there, and there again, honkies in the hood. Like we'd never been to casinos or anything like that. I mean, it's just totally mesmerizing your first time driving down the strip in Vegas at night. I mean, all the lights and stuff. And we get there, and Bud and I go up and we want to play blackjack, and we didn't know really how to play. I mean, we got the gist of it. I mean, the goal is to get 21. We're fairly savvy at mathematics.
And the most we'd done ever as far as playing any poker was we'd sit at the kitchen table and play with Dad, usually just the three of us. I think we sat in a couple times with his regular poker games with a couple of his friends.
Yeah,
but
like that was kind of like your rite of passage. Was it when we turned 13? 13 we were able to play?
Yep.
So yeah, Dad had a poker game every couple of years, and so when we turned 13, we were able to play, and that's a whole other story. I remember my first time. I took
Everybody
my
does.
I took my godfather for quite a bit. You remember that?
Yep.
It got down to the last card, and I won a big amount with 5 queens. It was like, yeah, you can't make that stuff up. But
in other words, we were prepared for Vegas. Continue.
Yeah, and that's a whole other story there. But sat down to play blackjack, and it's like, we get out our money because Dad, had given us each, money, so we all had cash, and like just all about having fun and get ready, try to, pull out a $20 bill and try to hand it to the dealer, and we get yelled at. They're like, put it on the table. It's like, here's your $20. They're like, put it down. Remember that?
It puts the lotion in the basket. It puts the lotion in the basket.
Yeah, it puts the lotion in the basket. So it's like you just put it down, and we're like, whoa, and then it's like, what happened again? I think we tried to touch the cards. We tried to pick them up, and we got yelled at for that too. It's like, you don't touch the cards, and it's like, oh, didn't know that. It's like, so we learned pretty fast there, but there again, just another honkies in the hood experience of, not knowing the ins and outs of big high stakes gaming. That means gambling. Keep gambling.
Keep gaming. Once again, you have any stories of feeling out of place in a big city, especially because that's kind of the stories we're telling. But if you're from the city listening to this and you have a story where you felt out of place in the country, because that can happen too, just send us an email to the band at myhillbillyjunction.com.
This is, Biff Bobcat Rogers signing off.
Bud Catfish Dickerson signing off. This has been the Polyester Man Podcast.